In this part of the conversation, John Key explains to us, John Key from the past, explains to us how the tax treaties can actually be enacted, like how you can get around them. Because they figured out a way how you can get around what they were going to do, which was a stamp duty, which is the same as the tax. And they figured out a way you could get around them. The answer wasn't that crash hot for New Zealand citizens, though. So let's pick up this conversation when we're looking at John Key talking about, well, it's a conversation including John Key talking about when they tried to do a stamp duty, which is the same as what the National Party is trying to do with their taxes.
The next question is legality. So in 2016, John Key briefly considered taxing foreign buyers of New Zealand property with a stamp duty. And a stamp duty is extremely similar to the tax or fee that you are proposing. Now, he was asked at the time whether there were legal provisions that would exclude us from taxing Chinese buyers. And here's what John Key said at the time.
We don't have the right to put on, funnily enough, a stamp duty. And the reason for that is that stamp duty was, taken off the table, if you like, through the free trade agreements we had, not only with Australia and Japan, and it also includes
because
Mexico.
Of the free trade agreements.
Again, stamp duty very similar to the tax that
we
you
couldn't
were proposing.
do it
now, since then,
because
New
of the
Zealand
free
signed
trade.
the 2019 tax treaty with China, which has the same provision, meaning that we couldn't put in the discriminatory clause. However, John Key got advice that there was one way around that discrimination issue in the double tax agreements. There was one way to tax foreign buyers. You have to apply the fee to all non-tax residents. The problem with that is that it includes New Zealand citizens. So here's
all non-tax residents. So, there's a tradition in New Zealand of going on the OE when you're 18, 19, 20, 21. You go away for 3, 4, 5 years, you become a non-taxed resident, right? So I don't know if it's still the same as it was in my era, but you go away for 3, 4, 5 years, you work in a pub, you holiday around Europe, you bring pounds back with you, and then you buy a house. So the only way around this, that's a terrible freeze frame, by the way, Mr. Luxon. Put that tongue away. People have picked up on it too. Sorry, I'll just put these up there. Luxon's face. So confused. The only way around it is to tax non-tax paying residents, i.e. when New Zealanders come back from their OE and they want to buy a house, then they have to be included as well. John Key will explain this.
That's what John Key said. A tax on non-residents would capture some New Zealand citizens as well as foreigners, as it would be applied on the basis of residency, not nationality.
There you go.
So to be 100% clear, and please give us a clear answer on this, do you have expert legal advice that explicitly says you can tax non-residents, including Chinese buyers?
I'm sorry to interrupt this. I'm going to go back because this could be your next Prime Minister. He's just been shown by good journalistic work a massive gap in his policy and plan from his predecessor who tried to do the same thing and found his way around it. I implore you to watch his response, and when we make this into a clip tomorrow, share it with everybody.
Nationality. So to be 100% clear, and please give us a clear answer on this, do you have expert legal advice that explicitly says you can tax non-residents, including Chinese buyers, whilst creating a carve-out for all New Zealand citizens?
Jack, I'm not going to get into this with you. I'm going to be really clear with you about why where we are. Because we're...
Jack, I'm not going to get into this with you. Jack, I'm not going to answer your very fair question based on policies that my predecessor tried and gave us the answers to. Jack, I'm not going to get into this with you.
For all New Zealand citizens.
Jack, I'm not going to get into this with you. I'm going to be really clear with you about why where we are. Because where we are, as we're saying, you're focusing on one aspect of our funding for our
tax plan. This is fundamental to the credibility of your central policy. You want to be Prime Minister.
You are fixating on foreign buyer ban that we're putting in place.
You need a foreign buyer ban to raise $740 million a year in order to fund the tax cuts that you were giving New Zealand.
Fund the tax cuts?
Yes.
Remember, there's other bits to it. Which
$740 million. Now, let's make this clear, right? Luxon is pushing this aside, saying this is only a part of how we're going to fund it. It doesn't matter. This is a part of how you're going to fund it. This is $3 billion of your supposed $16 billion because it's $750 million a year over 4 years. So he can't say this is just a part of it because you know what? If Labour had a $3 billion hole in some of their plans, he would be shouting it from the rooftops. Right now, Jack's just gone, you this is the only way it can work according to your predecessor. He said, well, this is not the only way we're going to service the tax break. You know, the tax cuts. It's not the only way we're going to do it. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter if it was 500 million and not 3 billion. You have to actually explain how this is going to work. And he refuses to do it because you know why? He can't do it. I would bet dollars to donuts he's never heard that before. I would bet dollars to donuts that this is new news to Mr. Luxon. And that's why he's, quote, not going to get into it with you, Jack.
See here, I've just asked you really clearly,
And
do you have expert legal advice that explicitly says you can tax non-residents, including Chinese buyers, whilst creating a carve-out for New Zealand citizens? Answer that question.
I appreciate there'll be a range of views about this topic.
Answer that question.
We have
Do you have
advisors and experts that have actually said that this is possible, and we are going to do that. You've had issues put up by the Labor Party around FTAs. It's not possible. Well, it is. You've had issues put up around tax treaties. It's not possible. Well, it is. You've had issues put up and say that a ban's not possible to reinstate. Well, it actually is, you know, to undo it. And that's what we're doing. So we've had the advice. I appreciate the advice is different from the people that you may be hearing from.
I'm not hearing from anyone. I'm listening to
John Key. The people that you're hearing from, those weirdos, John Key.
John Key, the former Prime Minister, whom I know you were so close with. So he had major concerns about what you are proposing.
Advice,
and I've asked you...
think we can find a way through it and deliver it with great certainty so that every New Zealander, working New Zealander, gets a tax relief and tax break. And that's what's important.
What does it say about the credibility of the so-called economic managers
Bingo.
that you will not release tax advice that says what you are proposing is legal and possible, and you will not release the modelling around your
we
numbers?
have released a 30-page document about how this policy works.
But it doesn't have that information.
Our reviewers' advice has gone through all of our assumptions, and we have released legal advice as well. There have been subsequently a range of experts and people in the public domain, whether it's been people who've been previously on the tax working group, whether it's been people like Charles Finney who've done a lot of FTA agreements, and they're saying it's possible. So,
I've asked you if you have that. I've asked you
confidence that we are going to do it. We're going to get it done. And
so we just have to trust you. But you've got the advice.
Well,
we just have to trust you.
I don't know what more I can do.
Well, you can release the advice on both.
Oh my God, he is so bad at this. I wish Chewy was here. He is so bad at this. I don't know what else we can do. I don't know what else release the fucking modelling. He is so bad at this. He is so bad at this.
Whether it's been people who've been previously on the tax working group, whether it's been people like Charles Finney who've done a lot of FTA agreements, and they're saying it's possible. So,
I've asked you if you have that. I've asked you
confidence that we are going to do it. We're going to get it done. And
so we just have to trust you. But you've got the advice, but we just have to trust you.
I don't know what more I can do.
Well, you can release the advice on both of these fronts
as we can.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.